Shavua Tov and welcome back. I hope everyone had a very, very enjoyable Pesach. Besides the situation what's going on in Eretz Yisrael and all around the world, with all the anti-Semitism that is out there, Rabotai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still waking us up. I don't know if we are picking up on the messages, on what's happening and what's going on, or if we're thinking that this president is going to help us or that president is going to help us. We need to wake up, Rabotai, we need to wake up. It is very, very sad how things are turning every single day. I don't want to even say by the minute how things are getting out of hand. IDF soldiers are dying. People in Israel are being bombed. In other places, people are being terrorized. It's unbelievable, Rabotai, with the situation that is going on. There's only one way that this is going to stop, Rabotai. Either HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to bring the Mashiach against our will when we're not even ready, or either we're going to bring Mashiach through our midot by refining ourselves, refining our character traits. Bezrat Hashem, B'Shem Hashem Naseh v'Natzliach, I want to make this shiur today for our soldiers in Israel and also for all the Jewish people out there throughout the world, or anybody who's going through a hard time, and may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give them the strength to be able to come out of it. Today's shiur is a very, very critical shiur only because, Rabotai, we have this character trait, but we want to try to channel it to Avodat Hashem, and that is being disciplined. We need to understand we have to have discipline when it comes to Avodat Hashem. Somehow, some way, I do not know the reason behind it. For whatever reason, when it comes to Avodat Hashem, it is much harder for us. I understand that there is a Yetzer Hara that pushes us not to do it, but there's a very big problem with that. Because when it comes to anything else, when it comes to job, when it comes to finances, when it comes to parties, for whatever reason, somehow we make it our number one priority to make sure that we are there, the bills are paid on time, the kids get to school, and we're etc. Rabotai, everything when it comes to the materialistic world, for some reason, we are able to be punctual and we discipline ourselves that this is it. If we don't do it, we have other problems. That we understand. But when it comes to Avodat Hashem, for some reason, we don't have that. We wake up late. Okay, Hashem is going to forgive us. Fine. Yes, Hashem will forgive you, whatever you want to say. But we have to be real with ourselves. Why are we lazy when it comes to Avodat Hashem? Or better yet, what can we do to better our service of Hashem through discipline? Now, I can tell you very simply, just channel that discipline that you have towards the materialistic world, channel it towards the spiritual world, and you'll be successful. But you might tell me, Rabbi, it's not going to be so easy. It's not over here. I see money, I see cars, you see the children. If you don't pay the mortgage or the rent, they're going to kick you out. There's fines, there are penalties. But over here, you might tell me I might not see it. Well, you do have a point. So, Rabotai, we want to try to go ahead and we want to try to look today on how to be able to overcome this obstacle. Because we need to understand what's the whole purpose why we learn Torah. What's the whole purpose, Rabotai? The Gemara says if a person does not have derech eretz, what is all the Torah that he has? What is it worth? The Gemara says, Rabotai, that a nevela, a dead carcass, is better than a person who learns Torah and has no derech eretz. First and foremost, a person has to have some sense of decency. Like we say in Bukhari, Odam Giri. If you don't have Odam Giri, what are you learning? On the contrary, you're making people come and hate you. I heard one rabbi in Israel say, I don't know if you guys know what goes on in Israel, but on the second day of Yom Tov, right, or the first day, after Shabbat, on the first day of Yom Tov, that when the Chag was already coming out, there was the Shotrim, the police officers in Israel, came into the area a little bit earlier before Tzedz Kochavim. It was after Shkia, around the twilight, where it's Safek Yom, Safek Laila, but it was still too early. The Chag did not come out yet. So what ended up happening, that you had a lot of religious boys, a lot of people with piyot and black and white, they started hitting on the police cars, and they started to make a protest, and they started saying, no cars in here, Yoim Tov, Yoim Tov, Yoim Tov. Okay, Azaka Baruch, but what are we showing the people around us? You want to try to get a point across by hitting on the car of a Jewish police officer to try to tell him that he's going to keep Yom Tov is not going to help anything. That's not the way to go about it. So unfortunately, Rabotai, I'm not speaking bad about anybody, Chas v'Shalom. I'm just trying to tell you, I'm just trying to bring out a point that our actions play a bigger role whenever you learn Torah. So if a person learns Torah and he behaves like an animal, it gives off a very bad sign on HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Torah, and that's a very big problem. So Rabotai, I want to show you today, Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to go a little bit in learning, but then I want to show you how a person is able to discipline himself. It is a very, very important Or Chaim. So in Perek Yud Chet, in Pasuk Daled, the Pasuk says, Et mishpotai ta'asu, you should do my laws, ve'et chukotai tishmeru, and you should guard my chok. I'll explain what I mean. Lalechet bahem ani Hashem Elokechem, you should go in them, I am Hashem, your God. Fine. Rabotai, mishpat literally means, whenever you say mishpat, it means laws. Whenever you say chok, it also means laws. But what's the difference between chok and mishpat? Mishpat are laws which you can understand that there's a reason behind it. Chok is a law where there's no reason, we don't understand why we're actually doing it. Now, I want to read for you over here a Rashi to explain this mishpat and chok business. And then I want to try to use that Hebrew terminology to try to bring out the point, what I'm trying to bring out with Or Chaim. But before we do that, I want to just give you a small introduction, Rabotai. Towards the end of Parshat Acharei Mot, it starts speaking, it's an introduction for Parshat Kedoshim, where it says Kedoshim Tiyu, that we have to be holy. And all this over here begins with Arayot. It begins with forbidden relations, illicit relations. So, as this being the introduction for Parshat Kedoshim, we're going to see that the Or Chaim HaKodesh is going to be bothered. He says, I don't understand. I read for you guys the language. He's going to say, I don't understand. If this is going into Arayot, into illicit relations, the pasuk does not make sense when he says, you should guard my laws, meaning the mishpat, and you should also, Michla, you should do my laws, but you should guard my chok. And then you should go in them, I am Hashem your God. He says, I don't understand I don't get it. If you speak about illicit relations, where do you want me to go? So that's what Rabotai we're going to see. I just want to first give you a small introduction also on the word mishpat and chok, so we know what it means. So he says over here, in Pshuto Shel Mikra, he says like this, Behevdel sheben ha-mitzvot ha-nikreot mishpatim, le'otan ha-nikreim chukim. The difference between mitzvot, which are called mishpat, again, which are laws, to those which are called chok, again, they're the same thing as laws. But there is a difference why one is called mishpatim and one is called chukim. Amru Rabbeinu, our rabbis of blessed memory, said, in Masechet Yoma Daf Samach Zayin Amud Bet, Et mishpatai ta'asu. You should do my laws. And what are they? Hem divarim she'ilmale nichtavu, dinhu she'ichtavu. These are certain mitzvot that had the Torah not written them, we would have told you still you should write them and you should guard them. Ve'elohen, for example, it's basically common sense. Avodah Zarah, doing idol worshipping. Vigilu arayot, illicit relations, sleeping with forbidden women, which is a very, very tremendous sin that, I don't know, Rabotai, people know or they don't know. Hashem Yirachim, the stories that come to my ears, that they need to realize that people that do Gilu Arayot, Rabotai, in the end, the pasuk says, they're going to be begging for Kikar Lechem. In the end, they're going to be begging for loaf of bread. What does that mean? That means they're going to become very, very poor. You might tell me, I see a lot of rich people and they do everything wrong. Rabotai, just continue watching the string. The string has a beginning and it has an end. Watch till the end, Rabotai. If these people don't do Teshuva, Rabotai, in the end they'll be knocking on doors, begging for bread. It's a very, very severe avera. By the way, Ushafichu damim, murder, killing people. V'gezel, robbing. U'bikat Hashem, chas v'shalom, cursing Hashem's name. So Rabotai, had the Torah not written these 5 averas, which is idol worshipping, sleeping with other women which are forbidden on you, killing people, robbing people, or chas v'shalom, swearing on Hashem's name, meaning cursing Hashem's name, chas v'shalom lo aleinu. It's common sense, Rabotai, we would have to keep it. You would have to write it and keep it. This is called a mishpat. That's called a law where it has reason to it. Ve'et chukotai tishmeru, but when it says in the pasuk that you should guard my chok, pay close attention. Whenever it's ta'asu, it's a positive commandment. When it goes to chukotai tishmeru, to guard, it's always a negative commandment. He says, "Hem devarim shasatan v'umot haolam mishivim alehem." These are things that the Satan himself and the nations of the world that are able to give you an answer and tell you why you shouldn't actually do them, because there's no sound logic. Ve'elohen, and what are those things that there's no sound logic? He says, achilat chazir, eating pig, right? Why should a pig be asur? Doesn't make sense. Ulevisha shatnez, wearing shatnez, wool and linen together. Whoa, I don't understand why. Isn't it just like wearing any other clothing? V'chalitzat yevama, by allowing a yevama to go by her taking off the shoe from her husband's brother. V'taharat mitzorah, also purifying a person who's a leper when he became a leper to speak in Lashon Hara. V'sa'ira mishalech, and sending also the goat on Yom Kippur through the mountain. What's the logic? V'shema to'omar maseh tohuhem. Maybe you're going to say all these things are vanity, all these things are nonsense. Talmud Loimar, the pasuk says, Ani Hashem. I am Hashem, meaning Ani Hashem ha'chachativ ve'en lecha reshut laharher bahem. He says, I am HaKadosh Baruch Hu that made it into a chok, and you have no right to question him. Now, I just wanted to show you the difference between mishpat and chok. Very, very critical. Whenever you see mishpat, mishpatim, there are laws with sound logic. Whenever we see a chok, are laws without sound logic. Being that, let's move a little bit forward. The pasuk says like this in the Torah. Vaydaber Hashem el Moshe lemor, Hashem spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu saying, Daber el bnei Yisrael, speak to the Jewish people, Ve'amarta elahem, and say to them, Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. Ki ma'aseh, here we go, Rabotai, Ki ma'aseh eres Mitzrayim, asher yeshavtem ba, lo ta'asu, like the deeds, like the ways of the people that lived in Egypt, where you guys resided, where you guys lived, you should not do like them. And we know they had a lot of promiscuity, whatever, illicit relations. Ukima'aseh eres Canaan, asher ani mivi etchem shama, and also like the ways of the land of Canaan, the people of Canaan, that I'm going to bring you over there, lo ta'asu, do not do, ubichukotehem lo telechu, and you should not go basically in their laws. Et mishpatai tasu, but rather what should you do? What should the Jewish people do? You should do my mishpat, which we explained was a law without, Michaela the other way around, was laws with sound logic. Vet chukotai tishmeru, but my chok, the law, where there's no sound logic, you should guard it. Lalechet bahem, you should walk in them. Ani Hashem Elokechem, I am Hashem your God. Okay. Rabotai, this is the whole pasuk. I want to try to focus on this pasuk and pasuk Daled. The Rav Chaim Igal asks a question. He says, kasher. It's very difficult to understand. Why? Acher she'en midaber ela b'piritzut ha'arayot, like I gave you the introduction before. Since the beginning of this, Rabotai, the beginning of Perek Yud Chet, Pasuk Aleph, this is the beginning for Parsha Kedoshim, where a guy has to be holy, where a guy has to watch his eyes. He shouldn't follow after other women. He has to watch his heart. He shouldn't allow the desires of this world take over him. And all this is going, Rabotai, on forbidden relations, on immodesty. The Rav Chaim says, I don't understand. Ma hachukim v'mishpatim asher tziva Hashem Eloheinu otanu. Says, I don't understand. What are the chukim? Remember what chok is. Let me try to use the Hebrew terminology only to make it the learning to go smoothly. Right? Again, one more time. Chok is a law without sound reasoning. Mishpat is a law with sound reasoning. So the Or Chaim Igal says, I don't understand. What are these chukim and these mishpatim that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, our God, He commanded us to do them? I don't understand. What does it have to do with arayot? What do you want me to do when it comes to arayot? And what do you want me to guard when it comes to arayot? It says, makes no sense. Gam, another thing he brings down, I don't know if we'll get to it. If we'll get to it, I'll be very happy, but we'll have to see the time. Be'omro, what did he say? What did Hashem say in the pasuk? Lalech b'hem, I want you to go in them. To go in where? To go in Gilu Arayot, in Imara's things, to look at it. Rabotai, you have to understand, what the Or Chaim Igal is saying is, in simple English, if this whole chapter from Yud Ched starts speaking about illicit relations and immodest woman, etc., what in the world are you telling me I should do these laws? Do what laws? To sleep with women, chas v'shalom. To look at women. I should go in them. The language of the Torah, chas v'shalom, seems like it's off. Gam tzarich ledat, also we need to understand, lama chazar pam sheni lomar ani Hashem elokech. Why did they have to go back a second time to say, I am Hashem, your God? I don't know if I'm going to get to that piece, because there's a lot of information. It's a lot. Let me just try to see if I can answer at least one of these from these three questions. He says, here we go, Rabotai. Veneer lifars, and it seems to come to explain like this. Lefi mashi katavnu besamoch, because what I wrote later on, shemachshava ba'arayot tagdil hachafetz utima'et mini'at haratzon. Rabotai, listen very carefully. The machshava in arayot, the thought in illicit relation in forbidden woman, it's gonna increase one's desire to be with other women. Utima'et mini'at haratzon. But then it's gonna lessen one from refraining to do what Hashem really wants him to do. I'll explain to you what I mean. Rabotai, as the Or Chaim Igal is going to go explain, he's going to say like this. Since if a person is going to be with his wife, that in itself is going to open his desires, his cravings, to want to go and do more, but chas v'shalom could be with other women. So the Or Chaim Igal is going to come now and he's going to tell us like this. You're going to be afraid of this. You're going to want to say, maybe I shouldn't even chas v'shalom be with my wife. Maybe I shouldn't have relations with my wife in order for me not to ever come to do the avera of Gilu Arayot. And that's what this whole pasuk is going to come to teach us. He's going to tell you, you have to be with your wife and don't try to be a tzaddik. And then you won't have to be afraid of doing the wrong thing. Let me show you, Rabotai. Let me try to break it down for you. He says like this. The pasuk, the Torah, was very concerned, very worried that a person is going to distance himself completely from this character trait. He's not going to want to have relations. He's going to be like the Pope. Like they say, right? They don't touch nobody, right? Whatever, whatever they do. Vivatel mitzvah piri'ah urivi'ah u'mitzvah yibum v'chadumeh. He's going to nullify the mitzvah of bringing kids to the world and the mitzvah of yibum. Yibum literally means if a woman married a man and the guy died without children, she has to fall to his brother and he has to have a child and he has to rename after the brother who died in order to revive the dead brother's name. He's going to say, I don't want to do that mitzvah also. And similar things like that. People are not going to want to get married. He's going to separate himself from this character trait of having relations altogether. He's not only he's not going to want to be with other women who are forbidden to him, he's thinking in his mind, the Or Chaim Igal is telling us, he's thinking in his mind that if I start with my wife, it's going to open my appetite, and maybe that might not be enough, so I'm going to want to go and sleep with other women. So what is a smart person going to think he's going to do? I'm not going to do this in order not to open my appetite. Because unfortunately, Rabotai, once a person is sunk in this kind of trait, it's very hard to stop it. But why should he be afraid? I'll tell you what, Rabotai. And here goes the next 4 lines are very important. Because our rabbis of blessed memory had said, in Masechet Sukkah, Daf Nun Bet Amud Bet, that is page 52, side 2, and Masechet Sanhedrin, Daf Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, that's 107, side 1. Ever katan yesh ba'adam. There is a small limb in a person. Mashbi'o ra'ev. If you satiate it, it becomes hungry. Mar'ivo saveya. But if you hunger it, but if you starve it, it is satiated. Rabbi, I want to read it one more time. Ever katan yesh be'adam. There is a small limb in a person. Mashbi'o ra'ev. You satiated, you're going to be hungry. You're always going to want to do it more and more and more. Mar'ivo saveya. But if you starve it, he's going to be satiated. Rabotai, what's this ever katan that the Gemara is speaking about? In Masechet Sukkah, in Masechet Sanhedrin. What is this ever katan? This ever katan, Rabotai, is a guy's private part. It is a person's brit. That the more a person gives into that desire of having relations, Rabotai, by him being with his wife, that makes him much more hungry. But if he starves himself, if he starves the brit, but not doing the Aveira, Saveh, he's going to be satiated. Now, Rabotai, let me try to bring out the question one more time. That's why the Torah had to write this passage. Do you know why? Because since the Torah says clearly in the Gemara Masechet Sukkah, Masechet Sanhedrin, it clearly brings down that a person, when he's with his wife, the more he's going to satiate his desire of being with his wife, meaning intimate, the more hungry he's going to be. So what is the person going to say? In order not to cause this hunger to come out, I'm not going to be even with my wife, Chas v'Shalom. But if I'm going to starve it, meaning I'm not going to be with the wife, then he's going to satiate, he's never going to come to do Avera with other women. But that's the question of the Rav Chaim. Now the Rav Chaim HaKadosh says like this. That's what he says, Lazeh tiva Hashem. And this Hashem commended. Ve'amar, and he said like this. Listen to this carefully, how scary this is. Et mishpatai ta'asu. Do my laws which have sound logic. Shehem mimin atzmo she'asarti lecha. That, because that is from that type of kind of, that intimate act is asur in other places. Over here, I'm going to make it mutar. Don't try to be a tzaddik and say, oh, I'm not going to be with my wife, I'm not going to be with my wife, only because I'm afraid he's going to open my appetite for more and more, but then when your wife is in nidah, you can't be with her, you might fall somewhere else. The Rav Chaim Igal is telling you, Hashem is telling you, be with your wife. This is not when the Torah was speaking about that it's going to open up your appetite. It's speaking about when a person feeds himself with shtuyot, with other garbage. I'll explain, but let me just finish this. Et mishpatai ta'asu, do my laws. Even though it's the same act, being intimate with a woman is asur. That same act which is asur, I allow you to do it with your wife. He says, here we go, Ani mechayevcha la'asot. I obligate you to do it. And even so, this act that now you were with your wife. So again, you have to understand this. Try to focus on it, Rabotai. You have two things over here. You have an act which is asur. Now this act which is asur with other women, we're breaking it up. With other women it's mutar. But with your wife with other women, chas v'shalom, not mutar. Woo! With other women it's asur. With your own wife it's mutar. But that act in itself, Rabotai, is not such a good act. That's what we would think. He says, no. I obligate you to be with your wife. Don't worry. But in the same realm, in the same umbrella, where this being intimate with other women, which is a problem, where he said, I allow you to be with your wife, He says, "Et chukotai tishmeru shehem ha'arayot she'asa." And that same umbrella of being intimate with your wife, but when it comes to other women, that's the "Et chukotai tishmeru." Guard my chok, guard this type of law, where you won't understand how could it be that this, Rabotai, let me give you an example. It can't be, Rabotai, that you're going to tell me that in the morning pig is asur, and at night pig is mutar. That cannot be, Rabotai. If pig is asur, it's asur. But we are doing an act. I'll give you a better act. I'll give you a better example. It cannot be that sometimes, I'm not talking about killing bad people, I'm just saying, it cannot be that killing innocent people in the morning is good, and killing innocent people at night is bad. Killing, period, is bad. Unless, again, you have to defend yourself, but I'm trying to bring out a point. The Rav Chaim Igal over here is telling us, you have an act which is destructive, overall it's literally destructive. That same act which is asur, I tell you with your wife it's mutar. And that's the mishpat you have to do, I obligate you to do it. But at the same time, but at the same time, when that which I allowed you to do with other women, I'm going to answer you. Now, Rabotai, this is the Rav Chaim. As I looked into this Rav Chaim, listen what grabbed my attention. If we're dealing over here with things which are forbidden, just let's try to stop over here, Rabotai, and I want to get back to the attribute, to the characteristic of being disciplined. Let me try to read it over here, and I want to stop right over here just to give a little twist. To this Hashem commanded, and He said, you should do my laws, which are from the kinds of being intimate, which I answered you. Over here, I'm going to obligate you to do it. Let me just stop right there for a second. Rabotai, listen to this carefully. Over here, the Torah is telling us something which seems asur, Hashem obligates you to do it. Let's go all the way, Rabotai. What happens when you have something which is mutar? How much more so we have an obligation to do it? Or when something is asur and it doesn't say in the Torah, I obligate you to do it, meaning you have to refrain from doing it. How many of us are going to go and do it? Not because, Rabotai, listen to this very carefully, not because we understand that everything that what Hashem wants and from our lives, not that we have to understand, but there is something, Rabotai, a person has to learn how to control oneself. He has to discipline himself. He knows he has to wake up early in the morning, whatever, he's down 6, 7, 8. He knows he has to be in shul at 7 o'clock. He has to make it his business to be there a little bit earlier, Rabotai. He has to discipline himself. He has to become a soldier. How do you do it, Rabotai? Very simple. If it's on something, Rabotai, like over here, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells you, I obligate you to do it, you have to understand, I like it, I don't like it, I'm ready, I'm not ready. Being disciplined does not care for your opinions. Being disciplined means doing what needs to get done and not making excuses. And that's what we do. We make all the excuses that there is. Comes to Kriya Shema Alamita at night, you do it, I don't do it, Rabbi, I'm not there yet. It takes too much time. I agree, it's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's hard. I'll be straightforward. It's hard to get up in the morning. It's hard to sit and learn straight. It is hard. Rabotai, but that's exactly what Hashem says. When it's hard, I obligate you guys to do it. Do not back away from it, Rabotai. That's why He says, do my laws. Do them, even if you don't understand them. Guard them, even if it makes no sense to you at all. Because, Rabotai, this is the only way a person is going to grow. If you're going to ask questions, not now, I can't, I'm not ready, I'm not full yet, I have to, Rabotai, there's no end to excuses. But if you want to become great, if you want to become great in Avodat Hashem, you discipline yourself, you don't ask questions, yes, no, you just get up and you just do it. My wife told me a nice chiddush on Shabbat. She says, You know, if anybody ever, whatever, I know you guys probably, if you ever see commercials, but it's just common sense, Rabotai. Why is it that, she said in the name of Charlie Harari, why is it that they do not advertise Lamborghinis on TV, on commercials? Did we ever pay attention? I never paid attention, Rabotai. You know, all the time that, when I used to watch, not one time, Rabotai, yeah, you might see Lamborghinis maybe on YouTube, if you look for it, yeah, you're going to see it on Google, whatever, yeah, you might see it. But why don't they advertise it? They advertise Lexus, Mercedes, Toyota, whatever, yeah, all right, all these cars that people can afford. So Charlie Harari says, the Lamborghini companies, they're not going to waste their money and advertisement knowing that the people that are behind the TVs are going to watch it, are the ones that are watching. Why? He says, because people that are watching and do nothing, there is no way they could afford themselves a Lamborghini. We have to get up and we have to do something with our lives, Rabotai. We need to change. And that change has to happen. It doesn't have to happen immediately, but there has to be a plan. There has to be a goal in place. And unfortunately, Rabotai, we don't have it. How do we do it? How do we get there? So, I want to go back to Masechet Sukkah and also Masechet Sanhedrin, where we spoke about every katan yesh ba'adam, mashbi'o ra'ev mari'ivo savir. Right? That there is a small limb, meaning a person's brit, that the more you satiate it, the more it becomes hungry. Rabotai, listen to this. But the more you make it hungry, the more it's satiated. It doesn't make sense. Right? But it's Chazal. We trust Chazal 1,000,000%. No questions asked. I want to show you like this. I wrote this over here, but I'm just going to read it through here just to have it clear and concise. I just don't want to say it from the top of my head. Im zerak ever katan. Rabbi, listen to this carefully. If this is only a small limb, ma anachnu omrim im ever gadol. Rabotai, what are we going to say when we're dealing with a bigger limb of a person's body? What are we going to say for that? If this is a small limb, but a person has a bigger limb, which gives the person even much more problems than that small limb, meaning the brit. Here we go, Rabotai, the hainu, which is what? Lev, the heart. Listen to this carefully. I want to just show you today, B'ezrat Hashem b'leneder, with Hashem's help, how one can discipline himself. And this is a very, very big secret in anything you want to do, especially when it comes in Avodah Hashem. Rabotai, because we know Sha'alev chomed, because we know that the heart, it covets, it desires. La'asod devarim shem lo nechonim. We know that our heart goes after things which are not right. I'm not going to sit here and start saying forbidden woman, immodesty, pornography, stealing, cheating, cursing, speaking shul. Each one, Rabotai, knows what they're doing is wrong. I'm not going to go ahead and now speak about everything in general. Everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. Ve'anachnu b'chol zot omrim ta'aseh rak pam zeh. Listen to this carefully, Rabotai. With guy. And with all this, Rabotai, we know that this is wrong. Whatever it might be, Rabotai, what? You know, so let me take an easy example. Let me take a hard example. What do you want me to take? You want me to tell sleeping with other women, chas v'shalom? You want me to say speaking shul olein, Rabotai? What do you want me to touch upon? Woman? Okay. Rabotai, watch this. Unfortunately, as sad as this is, people are not going to know him, and Rabotai, you know, look, how can I put it? There was a very young boy, put it like this. There was a very young boy, and he tells me, Rabbi, I feel bad. I feel very, very bad that I am doing outright averos. So I said, what could be right out averos? Maybe he's become a breed. Maybe he's spilling semen in vain. Maybe he's watching pornography. I don't know, like, what could be so wrong? Like, and he was very innocent with me. And I think I'm speaking about like a 16-year-old boy, maybe 15-year-old boy, Rabotai. He said, no, Rabbi, a little bit more than that. What could be more than that? He said, Rabbi, I am ensnared, I am trapped by the Tahara when it comes to sleeping with girls. I was taken aback. I said, what do you mean sleeping with girls? Like sleeping with girls? Like husband and wife, or just like sleeping, in the same bed, fully clothed? Rabotai, make the long story short, he, like husband and wife, being intimate. Again, you have to try to go smart about the situation. You got to try to give him chizuk, try to do teshuvah. He says, Rabbi, no matter how much you're going to tell me this, yes, this, I know deep down inside that this is wrong. But I say to myself that this one time I'll do it, and after that I'm never going to do it again. But somehow I fall back to the same trap. In the morning I go to shul, I down to Hashem, and I cry, and then I go to the mikveh and I dip 50 times or 101 times, I don't know what it is. And he says, and I cry and I feel terrible, and I read the Tikkun HaKlali that Rav Nachman Breslov Zatzal said that is going to raise the Averos, and I try to do everything. But then once again, when it comes night, I fall again. Again, the same thing in the morning. And this, Rabbi, you could be rest assured that this happens 2 to 3 times a week. How old is the girl? 18, 20, 12 years old, 30 years old. Rabotai, we are living in a generation where everything's open to our kids. If we don't help them, I don't know who's going to help them, Rabotai. Now, this is the example I wanted to give you over here. And how would he be able to stop this? This is a very, very severe example. But this thing also happens with us. People that think that I'm a tzaddik, I don't do these averos. Right, you don't. But how many times you said to yourself, I'm going to wake up the next morning, go daven nets, or go to the mikvah, and you miss it. Or you miss half of the davening. Or you come late, or you don't come at all. Or you say, something, today I daven by myself, tomorrow I'm going to daven with a minion. And again you fall. And again you fall. And again you say, and again, good, Rabotai. Keep trying, that's very good. But I want to show you today, Be'ezrat Hashem, B'li Neder, Rabotai, how can one make it once and for all final? That's what I want to show you. And this applies to anything. Try to speak in shul. A person wants to speak in shul. Sometimes he has a battle. Should I speak? Should I not speak? Should I say it? Should I not say it? He says, okay, tomorrow's going to be a different day. Later is going to be a different day. Arvit, I'm going to try not to speak. And again, he falls. Somehow we are always falling, Rabotai. Or with learning Torah. I'll go learn Torah tonight. And he has all the right intentions, but somehow something happens, he doesn't show up. He feels bad the next day, again he downs to Hashem, then again at night he doesn't show up. Rabotai, and this is what I want to show you. That if this ever katan, the Brit Kodesh, that if you satiate it, listen carefully, it's going to be hungry, it's going to want more and more and more. But if you starve it, it's going to be satiated. How much more so, Rabotai, how much more so our hearts? That if we're going to only starve our desires, I'm going to be careful when I say this, and I'll explain to you what I mean. If we're going to starve our desire, how much more satiated it's going to be. But if you're going to go ahead and you're going to feed into your desires, you're going to satiate it, how much more hungry you're going to be. I'll give you an example. A person says, he's watching, right? He's watching, right? Let's say, I don't know, he's watching, give me something, I don't know. YouTube short, I don't know. What's the other thing? Okay. Right? He's watching, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And he thinks by watching the next clip and the next clip and the next minute and the next minute, Instagram, thank you very much. And the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, he thinks by watching, it's going to satisfy him. So therefore, he's not going to watch no more. Until he gets so tired and he goes to sleep very late. And he wakes up late and he wakes up lethargic and all broken. And his day is not good. Why? All because of a phone. Because he thought by giving in to his desire, by watching and watching and watching and watching, he's going to go ahead and he's going to be full. Not realizing the more you give into your desires, the more hungry you become. But if you go the other way, Rabotai, if you go the other way, what happens if a person says no? He wants to, Bemet he wants to, says the next 10 minutes I'm not going to touch it. He's going to hunger his desires. Do you know what's going to happen? You're going to feel good. You're going to have a great sense of accomplishment. And then you're going to say, you know something? You know, I could do another 10 minutes. I could do another 10 minutes. Before you know it, you're not touching this, Rabotai. Before you know it, you're not on this. Before you know it, you're helping your wife, your children, you're out there running, playing basketball, enjoying the beautiful nature of the world. But what do we do, Rabotai? Years are spent on watching things that will never help you, Rabotai. Years, from time when you take 3 hours here, 2 hours there, Rabotai, years are going to be accumulated overall. When a person dies, and you're going to see how much time he wasted, where he could have been spending more time with the kids, the family, the friends, enjoying nature, Rabotai. We already forgot what nature is. Everything is about YouTube shorts, smarts, whatever, all these things. So that's what, Rabotai, we need to know. We know this. Rabotai, we know this. It's ingrained in us. We have the discipline. We just have to be we just have to be able to channel it the right way. And how do you do it, Rabotai? Like Chazal tell us, Mashbi'o Ra'ev. If you're going to satiate it, you're going to think that today I'm going to sleep a little bit longer. I'll go down later. I'll just sleep a little bit longer. I'll sleep a little bit longer. Before you know it, it's 11 o'clock. And you miss davening, and you miss davening with the minyan, and you miss saying Kaddish and Omen and Baruch Hu and everything else. Or if you say, you know, I'm going to learn later, you and I know that later does not come. Rabotai, it's not by trying to give into your desires. It's trying to say, nope, I'm not. Just, you know something? Just then, when you want to go and watch something, or when you want to go and do something, or you want to look at something forbidden, because you think looking at a girl, that's going to give you satisfaction, that's going to only make you more hungry to want to look at her more and other women like her. But if you're going to be able to say, I'm not looking at her, that's it, I'm not looking, you will see the great satisfaction that you're going to get, because now by you hungering yourself, you're going to become satisfied. And this, Rabotai, is how you become disciplined. Bezrat Hashem, the blessing should be that each and every one of us learn, Rabotai, this character trait of being disciplined. Because when you have discipline, I would love to say you have everything. Disciplined people look like people. Undisciplined people look like animals, Rabotai. Any little thing, any little wind will throw them that way, will throw them this way. Rabotai, Bezrat Hashem, may we be from those people that are disciplined. May Kadosh Baruch Hu give each and every one of us all the barachot that are in the Torah. May all the barachot fall on all the Jewish people, and may all our enemies fall under us. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen. Amen.